I have been playing a game recommended on previous episodes by one Mark Robinson, and that is The Artful Escape.
Yeah.
And I think with the way like my work has been absolutely manic, I think this was the exact game I needed right now. Because The Artful Escape, I don't want to retread grounds that you tread on when you were playing it originally, Mark, but, for 80% of that game, it's not really a game per se. There's no real, challenge to most of it. You have periodic, boss battles that follow a Simon Says type format. But even they aren't, there's a couple of ones that have been a little bit tricky, but not really in a way to write home about. But I don't think that's what I want from a game like this anyway, so that's not a mark against it. It's brilliantly stylish. The music is great in it as well. And it's just it is like the video game equivalent of sticking on a lava lamp to chill out. Because there's just this kaleidoscope of colour, wonderful ambience to it. I enjoy the characters quite a bit. I popped huge for the likes of Carl Weathers being in this game as Lightman. I can't even think of the name of the character I encountered last night that it's this weird kind of galactic monster that shouts one line at a time, and when he shouts the whole screen turns red. I can't think of that character's name, but he was cracking me up. There's just some odd characters. It's a really weird concept of the reluctant heir to a passed on folk musician's legacy, turning by night into a Ziggy Stardust-esque intergalactic guitar shredding rock star. It is a wonderfully bizarre little game, and I'm having a fantastic time with it. But I'm not the only one on this show who's dipped into this game for the first time this week. Jack, you've been playing as well.
Yeah, completely uncoordinated as well with Dave. We both decided to just start the Artful Escape this week. I think possibly because we are coming up to that Game of the Year season. So we're just trying to hit a few points and bits and pieces of things that we might have missed throughout the year. But I remember Mark telling me, it was probably only, 2 months ago, maybe, Mark, that you played this?
Might have been a little bit longer than that, but I think it was maybe August, September, maybe.
Yeah, and you kind of told me the rough outline of the game, and just thought it just went on that list. It went on the list, and I was like, I know I need to get to this, but it's just everything that you kind of want it to be, in that it's like a 4 to 5 hour long at most game, where you're taking a journey through this young man who is having a real crisis of confidence. He's the nephew of this great artist, this great folk artist, and clearly he has no taste or particular ability to play folk music, yet he's been sort of strong-armed into making this performance at a local show that's in tribute to his lost uncle. And he discovers through some sort of cosmic waves that he is an incredibly insane, spacey shred guitarist, and the first moment that you're taken away from this sort of really brilliantly artistically pictured sort of miserable northern town, which is still called Calypso, which I found quite funny for its hometown as a name, and you're just floating through the ether of space with a guitar that's made out of light, and you have the ability to hold a button down to just constantly shred. I was just enraptured from that moment on, and it was just an insane journey, really. The whole thing looks like it was drawn by Noel Fielding. All of the weird monsters, all of the aliens and strange creatures in this game aren't particularly anthropomorphic. They're all just here's a bunch of limbs and arms, and this thing has a speaker for a head, or this thing is just a big blob.
It has this It has this like collage or pop-up book quality to it.
It does.
that I
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
It kind of feels like when Noel, when when Vince Moir takes you through his stories about Charlie and the Mighty Boosh, is what.
Or when he was raised by Jahuli.
Yeah, exactly. Any of those sorts of things. It kind of, but it owes a lot to like that real psychedelic art style. Like it isn't a million miles away from like the Yellow Submarine look of the Beatles and stuff like that. Just but combined at the same time with this, you know, in Bill and Ted where they go to the future and they're like legends in the future and there's like all of this weird space age stuff going on and there's just this like massive like ambient echo filled guitar sound in the background is exactly the sort of sound that you're getting from a lot of the game. Any button that you can press X to shred in is just immediately going to be up there for me.
Is there a moment in that game where either one of you gentlemen were not holding down X?
I sometimes I would let go because I wanted to just hear like the ambient orchestral like noise sound structure that was playing underneath. But I was only doing that because then it made it that much more impactful when I would bring the shredding back in.
I was shredding all the time.
But usually, I think the better question there is that any time that I was moving that I wasn't shredding, and the answer would be no. If I was running, I would be shredding.
Yeah.
The double jump into shred is insane. Like, so one jump and then a little hop, and then you can hold X and you sort of do this like lunge forward through the air and just jam out a ridiculous note on your guitar, and it's insanely satisfying. And because the game is only 4 or 5 hours, and no stage was I ever sick of doing that, it was always class to do it. And I just think it's just, you know, aside from all of the brilliant visual and audio just delights that the game provides, I just think it's a really lovely contained story about people who are struggling with confidence or the ability to kind of pick the best parts out of themselves and put them across. Because this guy kind of starts off, Francis, and he's really struggling, and by the time it's the end of the game, he's like this really confident, you know, foot first forward artist who kind of has found this thing that is his passion, and by finding something that is his passion, it aligns him with this whole identity that he can develop for himself. And I think it's a game anybody that's like struggling or feels within themselves to just really come out and express who they are to the world, like whether it's, you know, like an identity to do with your very self, or, you know, like sexuality, gender, any of those things, right down to I just want to be creative in this way and no one else around me understands. Playing this game like as a kid would just really spark off the imagination of this is the thing that I want to do and grab onto.
It's an incredible story of like the battle between who we want to be and who people around us expect us to be.
Exactly, yeah.
That's where the central conflict in the game comes, and it's really, really interesting, and the way they explore that, and the kooky characters you meet along the way. And I love the little dialogue options to build out your legend of who you are. And I love that you kind of get you get a nickname you can give yourself, but then you can insert your actual name. And instead of the characters pronouncing your name, it's just a squeal of a guitar.
Yeah. I was from the planet Candy Hammer. So
I was trying to think of like the most kind of normal guy name because I thought it'd be really funny.
Steve.
So I am the ethereal Eric.
Nice.
The one kind of main, I don't really want to say criticism, but like point of observation you can make in terms of like why you wouldn't enjoy this game is the fact that as an actual game, it is quite limited.
Yeah.
You know, the and you know the one thing that this game, there's kind of two main things to this game. There's platforming and there's the Simon Says prompts. And the game as a platformer isn't, I would say, particularly great. I wouldn't even say it's even good. It's kind of stiff. It's not as kind of fluid as your average platformer. And the Simon Says bits, they're they're fairly redundant, and sometimes the character designs are a little bit too exotic that it's kind of like hard to know exactly, like, are you actually a shoulder button or you're a face button? So, you know, if you come into this like wanting to have an actual game to play, and the people that I know that don't like this game, is a lot of the reason
Monsters.
I don't like it is because as an actual game, and I do get it, like as an actual game, there isn't that much there, and it is kind of it goes into that sort of wanky, like, hey, it's an experience, kind of similar to like Genesis Noir.
Well,
but if you're on board with it, you know, you look past that.
This is what I was going to say, is that it kind of veers into that. It seems like it's one of those that would have got thrown in with like the walking simulators and stuff like that. It's like, you know, I even said it at the start when I was talking about it, like it isn't really a game in the classic sense. But I think as time goes on, our understanding and our definition of what games not only are but can be is shiftable. And yeah, like if you're coming in, I could understand like, I kind of like, I do and I don't, because also it's a Game Pass game, so like I'm like, yeah, if somebody plonked down like 35 big ones for this and it turned out to be a game that didn't have much game to it, I'd be like, yeah, okay, you do you and rant about this. But as like a free little experience it's distinctly different from anything else I've played this year, I don't have a hell of a lot that I can really throw at it. You know, I'm not saying it's perfect genre defining or, you know, a paradigm shift in any way for video games, but I just think it was an excellent little circuit breaker for me.
Agreed. I think if you want a platformer, go play fucking Metroid, you know, like if you want something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, and if you want an interactive story, which is what this is really, it's more than a game, it's an interactive story, then I think you'll enjoy it. And like, if you have Game Pass, at very least, just play the first half an hour of it, and then if you're not into it, just delete it. But
it's safe to say you'll have seen pretty much the entirety of what that game is within half an hour.
I don't even think, because like within half an hour, I'd say you're probably still within the kind of sleepy town setting. Like, I do think you need to get to the point where you go down that cosmic slide of energy and have that first experience with the shredding. Like, I feel if you don't get to that point, you miss basically what that game actually is.
A journey through the cosmic lung.
Yeah, so maybe if you get as far as the first proper boss,
then
you've figured it out, however long that may take you.
Yeah.